I te rā tainga uru o Peperuare, mata i te rua tautini e tainga uru, i te ora rua i te popongi mai ata. Kua u Aitutaki ki te uri ia Pat Tūranga Toru. Ko tētai uri ia rika roa atea tā te i te tangata ara ura i kite, I roto i tō rātou oraanga i te noanga ki Aitutaki.
For us, Cyclone Pat was a very different cyclone. You know, having lived here all my life, I've experienced many cyclones. Cyclone Pat was one of those ones where we were caught a little bit off guard as it built up to us. We gave our guests all the normal warnings, but there was no storm surge. So there was no indication of a really big cyclone or the strength of the winds that we actually experienced.
We are eastern facing, so we face out towards Aitutaki from home. My house is up on Aitutaki, one of the second highest point on the island. So the winds that came through, the last recordings that we had were 214 kilometres per hour. Now my house is specifically built to withstand 220. Then we had gusts after that, and I actually lost a large amount of the roofing from the house, and it wasn't just a flat flapper, just a big bang and the roof was gone.
Kora puti ino tangata, kora purai o te kate amamo o te toa I ko, pera katoa tungutu are I tautu, te rero o ki tanga I tunu anga warao. Kora puti tapakapaka, mana ko anga o ki e wanga uru pene ki te anire mairi te mamo, ka reji tunu I rau, inara, o te arawa kei te mana ko anga I te rero po.
Te turanga o te uri ia, karanga I roto tōku oranga I kite o te utu uri ia kato tō tāku I kite. Tia uri ia ia Pat, kare aku uri ia ki te ana mi tēnā rai. Ko ia te kai te riri nui tia uri ia.
Mararo ia ko te mea seri rarotonga. Riri nui katoa ke seri, pera katoa te ia uri ia Pat I tai me kia Aitutaki. Riri nui, but te ngai I manga tuma te tenga o te rā uri ia, e poiriu ki te tumu I te teimei tupu e te uri ia. Hare au pinge ki te adi e tupu ne ua I dungutuare. Tomato kainga e no e mato. Uri take te rā are ana. Ngā ue te rā are I te uri ia Pat. Ua peke ere ture te o wanga punu ere I runga tomato are.
O marako o mātou o te au tropical storm ere mana ki tātou. But when that happened, te tupuanga mai a Cyclone Pat, ua ki te mātou e akatarawa ki tā mātou I tambo tō mātou gare ko mātou I akapapa ia mātou no o te uri.
So it was quite a scary experience. I mean, with the fact you're sort of unpredictable, you don't know what's going to happen. It's my first real one to experience, especially been living in New Zealand, so it's pretty scary.
I roto I te program ka akara te reira I te tūranga o te angang kim puapinga I Aitutaki, I te tuatau I tupu e te uri ia, e te I tupu I Muriake. Ko arawe I atu te tai au ona pitiniti I roto I te anganga o te tūroto e te au toa oko.
We were one of the fortunate ones at our resort where the cyclone, while we got the full force of the winds, there had no real damage to the main buildings. We lost about 90% of all of our wooden fences, they were all blown down. We lost a number of large trees and coconut trees, but the buildings themselves, and especially the beachfront, the waterfront areas, received no real damage. But even with that, for our resort, having received no significant damage to the buildings, it was still in excess of $100,000 of cost to get us back up and running again.
With on-hopper vacations, a lot of our clients come from Northern Europe and around the world, and they tend to come here to Aitutaki to holiday. Now, directly after Cyclone Pat. There was a lot of damage to the island. The properties themselves, thankfully, the majority of them are on the western side of the island, and that wasn't hit so bad. A lot of the damage that was done was mostly the falling of trees, but no damage to the physical properties themselves. I know that the tourists themselves were very, very well taken care of. They were all looked after, and basically the next morning cleanup started. A lot of the tourists from around the world thought they would never be in such an experience, and they were wonderful. They chipped in, they helped out, and they wanted to be part of the rebuilding and the cleanup process here on Aitutaki.
It's a miracle. O te mea, tō maua property, tō mātou kainga, tō mātou toe moni, arahui amiri ane te mea, e te uri. But te o kainga eri, tō pai mai a mātou, ki au kainga kato tō i te rātua. Lawe kato tō e arunga i te wanga punuki.
Ki a katoa urire ki tā mātou business, ua upekena i o ki arunga i te ere. Tanga ia moia nāu. Kua upekena ia te rumu i mua ki tanga i usian o ki te bank i te tuatau e ngā i business no te bank. Ko te are o ki tautu, tanga i tōku mito vai nei te rere pō. Kua takinu kino i rai. Te rere koto o ki te are wharao. Kua pō ia katoa ia te wāngatini, kua ere te o ki roto. Kua ngā a te umu mo te mea. Kua ati o ki te rārā rākau, te rārā vi, te rārā kuru, te rārā rākau, e te pū rākau e te pai te are. Are mariko ango, te au pākau kato toi roto, te pākau o te toa, te pākau o te wharao, te pūte wharao, te atu, paru, are me te kia hoa.
Like business roofing, 100% damage the factory. Pururu pōro ki raro, toi mai, e anga o te patusiminu runga tau. Are paruru, are arunga. Perakatori e tako stock ere te rora punu te I o te tā mau pōro.
We were fortunate because we didn't get so much damage, other than, you know, minor things like the guttering and that falling off.
I tere tuatau kua te tei kōtai te are waranga rako mea palai te reo tuanga rako ere te pēni ere kua upeke I atu te tei tua I te are pēti tere tuatau.
I muri ake I te tākuna kino anga a uri I a Pat, kua rawe atu te utuanga no roto I te kawamani te United Nations e te Cook Island Red Cross, I teta I au koiko I anga tutua nā roto I te au ngutu are I u I te uri ia, e pera te au pitini te I Aitutaki. Kua kitea mai e itunga uru mani mapatene o te kino tā te uri ia I akatupu, kua u ki te au ngutu are tangata, ka reka ko te tuanga o te kimpu apinga, e maanga kino ua te ripoti ia. Nā roto I te reira ripoti I akatina mo e te kawamani, kia oronga ia te mātanga o te tauturu I te akameitaki I te ongutu are tangata.
I muri ake te uri ia, e o tae ki te tae no roto mai te kawamani mi rarotonga. E ngā kawā te tae ere mai, e te tae o tae, pera katoa te tae ngā tae ke, no roto mai te UN, no overseas mai. Ko ere mai kua interview I aku I kore te toa I rotanga. Kua utatara mai, kua ui mai, kua kite, kua nene I te tutu, kua katau ere te au ngai, ere te au tai I te au manamanata, te au damages, te tupu ki te business. Katia kia, karau ko mai te tauturu. Tai pāmana mai muri mai, o ki ako mai te tai au pupu, kua katau, kua tare te mea, te pākau ere ka inoro ia, me te tangkawai, te au mea ere inangaro ia I te tauturu. Ko rāta, ko tāre, ko kiriti, ere atu. Muri mai, tai mai te pupu ere o te recovery, te pupu o te Red Cross, ko ere mai, ko tāre ako o, ia tai maka tāre. Mi te rere tuatau mai, tai mai ki te rā, kare rai rau ko te tauturu, no te tauturu I tāku business, tā tōku family, TV Māori Stores Limited, kari rau ka ana te tauturu, tai mai ki te rā.
With the tourism side of things, we put a lot of effort into keeping our partners around the world, our wholesale partners and our past guests, aware of exactly what the situation was. As we built up to the cyclone, our own guests in the hotel, we gave them access to our satellite phones to call home to their families to let them know what it is. And immediately after the cyclone, we took lots of photos of our beachfront, of our resort, of our key facilities like the restaurant and the rooms, and we send out all of these real-time images showing that we're not damaged, we're in good shape, we're ready for business, and we send that out all to all our wholesale partners. So we were very fortunate. We didn't lose too many bookings during that month during the immediate aftermath of Cyclone Pat.
Because it happened immediately, obviously communications in here in Aitutaki were very, very limited. So I had to get in touch with our offices in Rarotonga to make sure that then we could find out how many clients we had here in Aitutaki. I personally went and visited the resorts and the properties to make sure that our island hopper people were okay, and made sure they were all right. And then we had to notify obviously their families and their travel agents around the world. So that was the immediate thing. From then we let our wholesalers know that yes, there had been a cyclone, yes, there was damage, but the majority of the properties and the accommodations were up and running and still available for business. And one of the biggest things is our lagoon was still open. So we had our cruise operators were still there, so we still had the day tour coming in, which was vital and essential. And the biggest thing we needed to make sure that didn't happen was we didn't want to stop tourists coming to Aitutaki, because without the tourists coming in and without the little bit of money or the amount of money that they put into the economy here, if they hadn't done that, it would have really slowed down our redevelopment. Aitutaki needed the money to grow, to repair, to fix and do, and so thankfully the tourists kept coming. Yes, we were affected a little bit because people had heard about it, but a lot of people still wanted to come, and they did come. And what they saw was the lagoon was perfect, the people were still smiling, the accommodations were fine.
Well, for a start, we were out without power for about 1 month since the time of the cyclone, so it pretty much set us back with the diving, because we couldn't fill up tanks and then, so because my compressor runs on 3-phase, so yeah, we couldn't top up tanks or anything. We pretty much didn't dive at all, which meant no income. But then again, you know, for me, it was a good chance to help those others who were in need. You know, with helping them out, taking the tractor around there, pull trees around, or just basically giving them a hand to tidy up.
Kare matu I kino nei te pai de business ko matu I tauturu I te ongutuare. Te ongutuare kare mang. Ku ka we tu te au tuka era ngarato spaghetti I ka wa pira to ngotira to tomato tanga ya takine.
Mangata ra yo te tonga te arawi te waronga ya te te o te te pakau. Te tuanga ta rato ya no mai no runga I te tanga ya ka tauturu rato. Tarato ka tere ngo I te me tangata business ko kino to o tau to o business are rato era bari o ngutu are mo tarato ka tauturu rato.
Taki dia tu ne kare ro tauturu. Are tauturu no ko komuni tauturu mai tamato business. Ya kamata ko mai ite akatupu ko de business. Na mato re kayu muni ko de pang. Akatu ko de factory mani punu now I operator ko yo. Agaro ko ka tauturu mai komuni itratim. Are ro tauturu I are men yamato. Kare ko tai tara. Arme ya tauturu yamato ja ko tua ko tamato business. Tamato re penne pa ta karangara pa te ronga ai tangata business ra mata no mun. Are tanu ki tauturu ya. Harumuna ko tera te tikang. Me man tara do mato are muni. Are muni no te me ja ko tua nga te business de patua ko nga te are kiru. Me ira ro mai te tau kiru. Paure te anre tau sindara. Na tianga ai anre tau sindara.
I think the biggest impact of Cyclone Pat was perhaps less to do with the numbers of tourists and more to do with the impact on our families. Like, for example, in Tamano Beach Resort, there were 9 families, 9 of my staff lost their home, no house. So that had significant impact on their ability to work, because they're at home trying to build shelter and provide for their children and their families, and still they've got to go to work to earn some money to pay the food every day and their bills every day and their outstanding kayus. In that role, Tamano Beach, we were fortunate in that our resort hadn't received huge damage, so we were able to continually employ our staff. During those first 2 weeks, we provided free meals for all of our staff at the hotel, and in addition to that we provided our kitchen, because we were very lucky. We had good water. One of the things that the island was very short of, we have our own independent water supply with filtered water. So we provided resources to the work crews, and they would, the power boys, the public works boys, they would come to our hotel every day for lunch, and our team would provide lunch for our own staff, but also for the work gangs. And in our community, in the whole Aomori community, we were one of the key water stations. We were fortunate enough to have our water supply intact and our filtration system working, so we were able to assist the community in that way.
Ka rea te kaumani muni tauturu I oronga te kāna ki roto I te rima o te o ona pisinit I Aitutaki. Māri rā kua ere tā rātou tauturu nā roto I te oronga anga I te tika anga mua ki te ititangata Aitutaki I runga I te enua. Nā rātou e rawe I te o anga pātu are e te tāma anga I te enua. Ko tō te kaumani irinaki anga nā roto I te moni ka tūtaki ia ki te aronga anga. Ka rauka I a rātou I te akaoki I te reira ki roto I te tuanga ki mpuapinga o Aitutaki. E pera katoa kua tānganga te tuanga o te pātū are I te upitini ti oko apinga pātū are kātotoa I Aitutaki. E pera tētai pae no Rarotonga.
Ko manui a kua peki I ako te tenta o te wangapunu. I te supply te au are 8 are a te nutireni tuku mai. Kāre mi te mea reo peki a koe, ka maani o tausinu a tāra, kāre. Ua taparawa o te muni o te punu ki rara, me koruki wa katapa te muni ki rara, kāre peki a ko. E penga e tari a mai no nutireni mai. So, e a kā ua ti ara mai.
Te tumu e wai e tia putunga rako I te tuato ki rari ia e tia mea, wera mai te tangata ka tere o te akatū te are te ota pākau I Aitutaki nei. Nāna tia ota I akaranga mai e ki ota I tia o rakau. Ki tērā te tuatou I mai rātou tiki te o rakau, o taui. No rere toi mai e tia o rakau toi, no tire tuatou mai no me ko taui rātou te me ko riro tu rere I manamana tānok. Me kāre, e muni te no e umare runga tia matia I romata I tia teim. Tia o tātou ere mane e o arongara rā tāko ere mane. E kē rā ka tāko arongara I roto te tō. E kē rā tāko maha o te toa, te tomato toa retail, te tua o te paia rako, te pako waka tua rere, te pla e tiri o pako te popo, e uarongara re tāko. Kakaranga auru, naringa pa I moko te ka tere manga tia, ka tere anga te oko anga te pako waka tua re, I te tato o te uri ia, kare pa e tupu ki tia rā. Tia rā, ko waka e ko tangata ronga rari akai, kare peke ako ko tutaka. Waka o ua tako wene e te o teki tō o rato te ronga runga te whira ronga tari rako wana atu, waka kare peke ako ko tutaka.
Kua riro te ia I tupu I Aitutaki I te akaari mai I te tai au tuanga puapinga, kare I manako I ana e te ka inangaro ki aka mātutu ia e ki aka tano ia no te ia au tuatau ki mua, e wake ka tupu aka au te tai tuma te tenga rikarika me te ia tā te uri ia Pat I aka tupu ki Aitutaki.
From a business perspective, one of the key things I've learned from this after living through many cyclones was take nothing for granted. Even though with 30 years of experience of cyclones, I thought I knew the strength of this cyclone because of the indications leading up to it. In fact, I was wrong. It was far worse than that, and we were just, by the grace of God, that we didn't have any fatalities or any other injuries.
Tutuano te tuo te ronga business, mea mato, te ronga supply, te mea patu are, te o material patu are. No, mea are me te I tender process na noko me te kaumani. Hi a tenta I Aitutaki nei. Te o business ua I Aitutaki nei. Me kāre rā e rauka I te supply I Aitutaki nei. Openi atu I regu mea Rarotonga.
Kare roko e mato te o tuang, then apa mere no o mai I Aitutaki.
For us, I think now we have a generator, so just in case that sort of thing happens, we can either just use the genny or move the genny around. Move our compressor around to to someone who has got the power, yeah.
This year we did have a warning with the cyclone that came through. Fortunately for myself, I was off the island this time, and so I wasn't here to experience it. But everybody was prepared. A week out, 2 weeks out, we knew something was happening, we knew something was going on. So the properties, they tied down the roofs, they made sure they had evacuation plans correct, they put things in place. Most of the larger properties all have a central point to meet up with their guests and go from there. So yes, lessons were learnt, and one of the biggest ones is we can't take Mother Nature too lightly.
Tōku i rena kia ngā ora tātou I te ki te warning ki te mai. Tia tuatau, kia tāmo tātou te eo tūtau I te pai tō tātou o are. Te auri kia kapapa o me te mea o mai e uri e tere mai ne, koe re te tauranga arunga tāpeka iau ki apai mai te tumuraka o ko e tire te taimera e tāpeka o I te taura e ti kareketa. Tōku I rena kia ngā kia tāmo I e te te anka ki ruti te one kia concrete ia.
From the wider community's perspective, as a person in the community of Aitutaki, one of the lessons I've learned from this is that New Zealand government helped us hugely in this. The chances of us getting that level of help again is not as good. So we have to appreciate everything that we got this time. We received significant millions of dollars to do the work we did. We didn't use those dollars as best we could. There were better ways we could have done it. We wasted money in materials, we wasted money in some of how we managed our labour. I think in the future we could manage that better. I think the private sector should have a stronger role in the organisation and management of the after effects, the next stage of relief. Private sector have proven over and over again they are very efficient in using money because they pay for it at the end of the day. In our public sector, we saw a lot of areas where we could have made the money go a lot further.